Hello, and welcome back to the backlog. Clay is with me again today. Hello, Clay.
Hello, hello. How's it
Um,
going?
yeah, it's been a really sunny day here. Um,
Nice.
and it's been a great day to stay indoors and watch Beef season two, which is what I've done for most of the day. Did get a little walk in there, which was nice. But yeah, if you uh haven't been keeping in touch with Netflix's series, Beef was a pretty big smash hit sensation its first season, and
Yep.
the second season has just dropped. It is an anthology series, which we didn't know at the time. Um, what were your general thoughts on Beef going into this? Were you excited for this, or were you kind of indifferent? I want to know.
I was very curious where it would end up. I was wondering who would be the main two central characters who have beef with each other. Come to find out, though, it's not two central characters anymore. It's like a quadruple beef going on.
Yeah, and I think that's was um what was interesting to me about this was that it is an anthology series, and at the same time, it's cool how it has the same vibe as season one without really feeling too derivative of it. Like you get a lot of similar structural stuff, some similar beats, similar stylings, and yet it does feel like a fresh take on it.
Yeah, yeah. And also, this is A24, so you kind of know what you're expecting for the most part.
Yeah, it's obviously you got Oscar Isaac, Kerry Mulligan, Kelly Spaney, and Charles Melton. Um,
Yep.
I guess I'll start talking about some stuff. Um, Oscar Isaac and Kerry Mulligan are two of my favorite actors, so it was an absolute treat to see them on screen together. Of course, they were both in Drive, but more famously, they shared a lot of screen time together in Inside Llewyn Davis. So seeing them together again, great. They have such great chemistry. Um, and I kind of love how this show just drops you straight in the deep end. It's like you start episode one, there's a pulsing electronic score, and we're right in the action. There's no like establishing who these characters are. We see the sort of inciting incident, and then we figure out who these characters are, which I really liked. Um, I guess minor spoilers, but it's kind of what sets off the show. Josh and Lindsay, Oscar Isaac and Carey Mulligan's characters get in a heated argument, and they are witnessed by two others, and that's kind of they're filmed as well, and that's kind of what sets off the sequence of events in the show. Um, what did you think overall? What were your thoughts? I wanna know.
Um, I really like the argument scene with them together. It's really nice, like you said, to see these two actors working together again. To me, overall, the vibe of this show felt very White Lotus. I don't know if you've seen that show. It's about a bunch of rich people and their shenanigans, and it also focuses on the staff members at each of the central locations. And the central location here is a country club. So very big White Lotus vibes. You got a lot of,
Yeah, I did read that in a review, which I didn't sort of figure it out myself. And now that I've read it, and I'm like, okay, I see what's going on here. Um, it is how do I put this? It's definitely trying to do a bit of Fargo as well. I think in the sense of like, the blackmail and that kind of thing. And obviously, it's also an anthology series, which Fargo was as well. The sort of like, there's definitely elements from different things being taken here. Um, Yeah, there's what did you think of like the social media overlays when people were texting?
oh my God, that was so, it was too much. Like I wanted to bring that up too. Yeah, I didn't care for that at all. It was a weird gimmick.
It kind of worked at certain points when you'd have them like type something and then backspace and then type it again. But I've seen it done before, and I don't know, I was kind of indifferent about it. Very cheesy though, very like yeah, like teen drama kind of stuff. And I think
Yeah.
that's kind of carried on, I guess, to get into my more general thoughts with Beef season one. I found very like tonally muddled. It wasn't sure if it was trying to be this like dark comedy or if it was like this straight up drama about broken people, or if it was more like a messy like I said, like trying to appeal to like teen viewers of like oh my god, the drama. Um, and I think the second season does carry a lot of that as well.
Mhm.
Um, like you said, it is with the White Lotus comparison, it's a big old like eat the rich party, which is funny because we were just talking about in the last video how that's an overdone thing that is being done way too much now. And then, well, what happens the next Netflix show we talk about is also using that as a main theme. Um, but I do think it has some interesting things to say. I really like that sort of like chain of command of capitalism commentary that they do, where
Yeah.
um Ashley and Austin are kind of slaves to their employers, but also Josh and Lindsay are slaves to the chairman. And it's like no one of the main characters is really in power and they just have power over certain people. And you know, that was presented in a pretty interesting way.
Yeah, especially whenever Ashley and Austin meet up with Joss and Lindsay and try to bribe them. That was a very cool scene.
Yeah, that I like the scene. I think it's in episode, is it in episode two or is it at the end of episode one where Josh is trying to do like these very unsubtle mind games with Ashley, and it's like he's really not being subtle or careful about it, but also if you were in her position, it would be kind of difficult to navigate because you don't want to lose your job. But
And Ashley's not a high school graduate too. I thought that was an interesting detail.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, but I think one of the main themes here is navigating the capitalist world and like what you would do for money as well is a big thing in it. There's like the throwaway line that they did ASMR mukbangs in their car to like earn money. Also like Josh's debt as well, which I thought that was going to play more into the finale. I guess the reason it's there is for him to be stealing money from the company, but I thought there would be something with like debt collectors or something, but that never really came up. Um, I like the scene where he like finds out he reads the letter and then the revving car comes in the sound design. That was really cool, really like unique take.
Yeah.
What did you think of the celebrity cameos?
Oh yeah, like lots of sports cameos. Michael Phelps is one of them. Um, Hot Chip.
Phineas?
Yep, yep.
It I think the problem you run into when you do that kind of thing is that it once you do it like more than twice, it loses its like because when Michael Phelps showed up, I was like, oh, that's cute, you know. But by the time we were getting to what was her name, the Olympian, um,
Oh yeah. No,
Suni Lee, when she shows up and she's just a terrible actress, and it's like it just took me out of it. I was like, you know, it just doesn't really work because I don't believe that it's actually the person. I just know that it's the person trying to act. Um, I found it a bit off-putting myself.
yeah, yeah. I can see that for sure. Um, Another big theme in the show is fraud. Obviously, that plays a big, that's a key central point of the story in the last two episodes, but also you get, um, Austin pretending to be a physical therapist. That, yeah,
Yeah, it's and you've also got the fraud of the chairwoman and her husband and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, there's some cool stuff in here. I think there's like I kind of want to talk about Josh, because I think he was of the four, he was the most compelling. I don't know if you'd agree.
Yeah. Yeah, no,
Um,
I probably agree. Yeah. Austin was interesting. He was an interesting character, but he was kind of stupid a little bit. He had his
yeah,
moment.
there's a lot of stuff that there is to unpack with the other characters. I think with Josh, is like there's this kind of like quiet tragedy about him, even though he's like this super rich guy. He's addicted to OnlyFans and
Yeah.
like um there's that I think the scene I found really sad was like when that guy comes over to his house and he's like trying to sell his like beloved items that he's obviously like cherished or like
Oh
wanted
yeah.
since he was a kid, like the signed Kobe jersey and stuff.
The mini Moog.
Yeah, there's like something so sad about that this guy is like he's got everything that he's ever dreamt of and he's having to get rid of it because of his own mistakes. I don't know. Um
Mhm.
and I found his plan. I guess this is all right. Big spoiler warning because we've kind of got vague spoilers. His plan to rip off the club and pin it on Ashley, I thought, was a really compelling twist and really put some narrative momentum into the show.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I thought he was great. Oscar Isaac probably gives the best performance in the show. He's really, really good as he is in everything. So yeah, I really like Josh. I didn't like Josh. I thought he was a good character.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I think Carey Mulligan does a good job as well.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Um, I guess we can talk about those two main relationships. Let's start with Austin and Ashley. Um,
My
I
goodness.
went on
The
a big
back and
roller
forth.
coaster with these guys because
Yeah.
I really liked in the early episodes that there was kind of subtlety about how they were written, where there is like he has this like denial and refusal to see his own issues, where she's like, yeah, and there's like the one bit where he's like, oh yeah, I just think you're projecting, and he just like shuts her down. And it's like, geez, and then how she's like so downtrodden that whenever he shuts her down, she's just like, yeah, yeah, no, you're right, you're right, you're right. Um, sorry, my bad, all the time.
Hmm.
I found that really compelling. And then as the show went on, they got more and more on the nose with their relationship and their dynamic, and the
Yeah.
way their relationship ends. I just can't understand what the writers were going for. But we'll get to that. I want to hear your take first.
There is just so much on again and off again with their relationship, especially by the ending, as you said. And then you get the other girl who's involved, Eunice. There's obviously some sort of racial thing going on, because she's Korean, he's half Korean, and Ashley is white, obviously. So there's just some tension there. Um, a little bit of misunderstanding, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know. I, there is. I like both of the actors, and there are likable factors to both characters, and that's what I liked so much about the early stages is that it kind of felt like, oh, this is just a really well written relationship where they're not good for each other, and they both need to go to therapy. And
Mhm.
then the end of the show is like, I guess I didn't really want to get to the finale yet, but we'll just touch on it here and come back. Um, I think the message at the end is like it was all Ashley's fault, and she just needed to recognize that so that they could get married. When in reality, he has just as many issues as she does. Like
Yes.
he doesn't know what to do with his emotions. He's a terrible like supportive partner. He's incredibly like he's like, oh, I'm in love with Eunice after like speaking to her twice, and that's just like not addressed. And he like confronts her about why she's toxic, and
He
nothing's said
seems
about him.
oblivious.
Say again.
He seems oblivious to the whole
Yeah.
relationship. He doesn't know how to take emotional cues or take a hint.
And I
Um,
just think he's harsh and he just doesn't like he has no self-awareness and he's basically a man baby.
yep.
And then in the end, it's like 8 years later, and they're married with a kid, and it's all fine. And it's like, I guess it's kind of alluded to that they're not happy, and it's kind of like a repeat of the cycle of Josh and Lindsay, right?
Hmm.
Um, but it wasn't a satisfying ending for their relationship, considering how much good development they put into it throughout the show.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. And then you have the whole thing with Ashley trying to make a baby.
Mhm.
And she has problems with her ovaries. And the way Austin reacts to that is just very poorly, I feel like.
Yeah, yeah. It's like I want stuff as well. Oh, so yeah, they both suck, and I'm not against that. I'm all for a well-written toxic relationship, which is what it was until like well, until the finale, and then it just
Yeah.
kind of pivots into like this very black and white, like he's right, she's wrong, and it's like what
It's
the hell?
very interesting how they juxtapose that with Joss and Lindsay, because at the beginning you really think that Lindsay, I can't
You
speak
just
right
did it
now.
again.
Josh and Lindsay have more troubles than Austin and Ashley because you witness them that big fight. They're becoming physical, but they actually have more control over their relationship than Austin and Ashley do, I feel like.
Yeah, I think Josh and Lindsay are really well-written characters. I think again they're both, and this is where I think this season has the slight edge over season one for me, where I think at times the characters in season one were just annoying, whereas in this it's like, well, they can be annoying, but they're well written and I can sort of understand why they are this way rather than like just being annoyed watching it, which is what I was watching season one. I think season one
Mhm.
had different strengths. I think its plotting was better at times and the pacing was better, but yeah, the core characters I like a lot more in season two. Or again, not like, but I like they're good characters, let's say that. Um
They are well written, yeah. Yeah.
yeah, and I think all four performances are really strong. I think maybe Charles Melton might be the weakest, but I think it's also the weakest character. So it's hard to like, I don't know how much better he could have done with what he was given because I just don't think
Mhm.
that character has much substance compared to the others. And I think
Yeah.
that was evident in the finale. I kind of thought we were building to something with him, but apparently not.
Yeah. Yeah. There's similar structures in season two compared to season one. You get the big action stuff happening towards the end of the season. Of course, Beef season one really put that into full throttle a little bit more than season two.
Yeah, you just get one scene in the finale which feels so out of place. It's
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but I was like, this is ridiculous. It's like a John Wick like one take fight scene. Genuinely,
Yeah.
if you've not seen it, you're probably finding it hard to believe that that is in the show. But it's so ridiculous. It just didn't fit at all.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Um,
then you get the husband getting shot at too.
Song Kang-ho was so good in this.
He
Obviously
was.
legendary Korean actor, Parasite, Memories of Murder, like all those great Bong Joon-ho films. To see him in this was already a great like surprise, but in the finale, I think he's the best part of what is a pretty weak finale. His sort of emergence into the spotlight is great, and his he has a pretty big death. It's great.
Yeah.
Um,
Um, there are a lot of funny moments in this
yeah,
show.
I was gonna bring that up next as well. Yeah,
Yeah, I like when Ashley is being asked what her pain level is
yeah,
while
this is
she's in
exactly the one I was gonna bring up.
bed. And she compares it to Letterbox. That's just
And then
wow.
Austin's face is like, oh my God.
And then whenever Austin is going over finances with Eunice and he thought miscellaneous meant missed,
Yeah.
That
Yeah,
was interesting.
it's there's some good stuff. I also like maybe not intentionally funny, but um when they lose the dog in episode 5
Oh
and
my God. Yeah.
Oscar Isaac goes to work and he just basically has a complete crash out. It was funny. He did a really good job. Um
Hmm.
Also, yeah, I think my biggest issue with this season, and whereas my issue with season 1 was more that I just didn't like the characters, so I didn't enjoy watching it. That wasn't really an issue here. I found the characters very entertaining. I think the big issue with season 2 is the pacing. I've said in the past, if you need to have differing episode lengths within the season to help your pacing, that's fine. Like have a half-hour episode here, a 50-minute episode there. I don't think this show does my theory justice. I think
Mm.
there are certain episodes that feel way too long and certain episodes that feel too short because that they mix up the episode lengths.
Yeah. Yeah. I can think of I think episode 6 was like 50 minutes.
Yeah, that was way too
And
long. And the finale.
the finale was a little bit long.
Mm.
Yeah.
And then I thought like episode 4 could have been stretched out a bit, maybe. Um,
Yeah, that was like 35 minutes.
yeah. Um, so I definitely think that hurt the pacing of the show. There's like a bit in, I think it's in episode 6, where Josh meets the guys in the sauna.
Hmm.
um, and finds out about Lindsay's plan immediately after she sets it in motion. It's like the next scene, and it's like, why are we rushing through this? Like this could have been like, and there are points where it feels like they're really nailing home the same point over and over again. But then a plot beat like that just feels so rushed towards the end of the season. Um, and yeah, I just think Josh is a really great, like, pathetic character. Um,
Yeah.
I I actually really liked how Ashley and Austin start out as this like sweet couple, and then by the end, I found them like intensely cringe to watch. Like episode 6 and
Insufferable
7,
almost.
yeah, they were insufferable. They're like a codependent nightmare.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
was uh, it was horrible.
I liked that episode where it felt like Ashley and Lindsay and Josh and Austin were forming sort of an alliance.
Mm.
You get that scene where Austin or Josh is doing drugs and Austin's there to accompany him. That was pretty cool. Um,
I really like that scene with Ashley and Lindsay where they're talking about like relationships. That was one of my favorite scenes of the show. Really, really like sincere and sweet.
yeah, yeah. The whole dog plot line I heard was under some criticism from people.
Okay, why is that?
I guess people just don't like animal cruelty. Um,
Yeah, I found that kind of interesting. I guess it was like some kind of metaphor in terms of like, the other dog arrives and Josh is like instantly takes to it and names it the same name, whereas Lindsay is like really averse to having the dog around.
yeah,
Um I don't know what it's a metaphor for. Maybe it's like a metaphor for grief or like
perhaps.
getting over a breakup, maybe. I don't know. This was trying to say something there. For sure.
What did you think of the moment whenever Ashley put her menstrual blood into the orange juice?
Yeah, that was
Pretty over the
interesting.
top.
I thought it was really over the top, and the fact that like the next episode he drinks the juice and it's like the big end of episode cliffhanger, and it's like, okay, like what's gonna happen? Is he like is he gonna have ovary issues? Like, is that? um, Yeah, I don't know. I do want to talk about the finale, but first I want to talk about episode 4. What did you think of episode 4? That's the highest rated on of the second season on IMDb, but it has been quite divisive. Some people really
Was
didn't
that
like it.
the hospital episode, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that almost had horror elements to me. It was very interesting. It kind of reminded me of A24 type horror,
Mm, yeah.
psychological warfare.
It kind of reminded me of Sorry to Bother You. with
Okay.
the sort of like zany comedy, you know, um,
Mhm.
the Keith Stanfield movie. Um, yeah, I think that's probably my favorite episode. It's either that or the premiere, which I thought was a really good establisher of like the vibe of the season. Um, I liked the lack of reliance on needle drops generally throughout this season. I think there was more so in the last few episodes, but I remember season
Yeah.
one there was like quite a lot of prominent needle drops that felt a little bit hit or miss. But this season has like a pretty distinct sort of electronic pulsing score, which I liked.
Yeah, yeah. There were a couple cool needle drops. I
Mm.
like the heads will roll needle
Yeah,
drops.
Real Love Baby,
Um,
Father John Misty. Um,
oh yeah, that was good.
Phoenix as well. Love Like a Sunset over the ending of the finale.
Yep.
Um,
Most of the good ones happened at the end of each episode,
yeah,
which I was
I
cool with.
I liked William Fitchner as well. As God, what was the guy's name? Troy. um, Troy is a great character, and William Fitchner probably most known for being in Heat and The Dark Knight. He's in the opening scene of The Dark Knight, um, very
Hmm.
prominently. Great character actor, so he was really cool in this, and I loved his like sort of bromance with Josh, which of course you find out near the end is not really that strong, um, especially in the
Yeah.
epilogue because it's like yeah, he just sort of forms a bromance with the other guy anyway. Um, yeah, I wrote down Ashley becomes insufferable. Please just go to therapy. That was my summary of her character, um,
Yeah.
which
I
I
love
assume she
the
did in the 8 year time gap.
hopefully. I mean, she has a baby, so I love the scene where Josh at the hospital to delete the backup videos.
Mm.
Um and he's mentioning one of the doctors who could help with Ashley's situation, but they're not there in time, so they end up removing her ovary anyways, uh, which causes Ashley to go fuck up their house by putting blood
Yeah,
in the orange juice.
another thing about that episode, it was like really nightmarish and made me glad that I don't live in the United States. No offense, Clay. Um,
No worries.
because our emergency rooms are pretty bad over here, but you know, you don't have to be worrying about all the costs of insurance and everything, and even then the insurance doesn't really help you with much.
Oh, it's a
Um,
nightmare.
yeah. So I guess we could talk about the finale. Like you mentioned, it's kind of on brand for Beef to be zany in the finale. Um, and yeah, I I like some of the zaniness. I think unfortunately the finale is by far my least favorite episode. I think a lot
Really?
of the season's momentum and the things that needed resolving don't really get resolved. Sort of we
Hmm.
mentioned Austin and Ashley's relationship. How like Austin is like sat in that car and he's like, I love you" to Eunice, and it's like, and then he has obviously that little realization in his face. He's like, "Oh, change where we're going," but it's just not enough. I think he really needed more of like a character intervention. If we're gonna give it to Ashley and we're gonna have to make her like deal with all her shit, like you know, it's only fair.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, the chase scene was really fun.
Yeah, it
More of the
was.
zaniness.
Yeah, it was definitely a scene that I saw. It just didn't. I don't know. It was too much. It was too like John Wick, like oh, the epic fight scene. It's like
Yeah.
these people haven't had a fight in this whole show. Like I'd have preferred if it was more like chaotic and they weren't. But like, there's a bit where Lindsay does like an elbow with someone's face and like the like karate moves, and it's like, what is going on? This is
Where did this come
ridiculous.
from?
Yeah. And I
Crazy.
hated, there's two things I really hated. And I hated the Lindsay running through the crowd of police officers to kiss Josh, and none of
Mm,
the police officers come and detain her. Like he's a
yeah,
criminal. It's like such like a bad, cheesy TV movie scene.
with the
Um,
music and everything.
yeah, awful. Um, And the whole epilogue, I thought was just terrible. Like there are elements of the finale I like, but the last like 5 minutes I just thought was pathetic. Um, the ending for Austin and Ashley just doesn't sit right with me. But more
Yeah,
so, Josh becoming like this prison drug dealer. No way. Everything we've learned about Josh's character, that guy would get eaten alive in prison. He would get eaten alive in prison. Like,
yeah, he would.
um, so that was just like really, really cheesy and lame. And it all
And then
just gets
ending
like,
it with the, oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, it all just gets tacked on at the end, and there's no like development into it.
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure. Especially the ending with Chairwoman Park,
Oh,
just ending it with her. I feel like you could have ended it on a better note.
yeah, it's ending with her like this murderer of several people being like, "Oh, believe in love."
Yeah.
Um, we haven't even mentioned like Josh getting hanged and then surviving that because the
Oh yeah.
structure fell over. There's a lot of like contrivances and convenience involved in that finale. So it's easily my least favorite, and it really like dragged my score of the whole show down. So
I think season one of Beef had a much more exciting finale.
I see. I didn't really like the finale of season one either. I liked the second to last episode with all the crazy action and stuff. I found the
Okay.
finale a bit like meh. But
Hmm.
what would you score Beef season two, and how does it compare to season one for you?
Um, they're kind of neck and neck. Like I would probably give season one a 7.3, but I'm giving this one a 7. Um, I have it just below the series Paradise season 2. Um, so I think it's better than His and Her, which we've already talked about.
So you
And
have
I
it
think
below something very bad is going to happen. Interesting.
I do. Yeah. Yeah. I feel like the pacing on that show is better. But the characters here is really why I gave this such a good score. The characters and the actors playing these characters.
Yeah, when we get to our awards at the end of the year, I think Oscar Isaac might be in for a nomination. Maybe we'll see.
Perhaps, yeah.
Um, I gave season one a 6.9, and I'm going to give season two a 7 as well. So it's just barely better than season one for me. But like I said before the finale, we were looking at like 7.3, 7.4, decent score. 7's still fine, but it's not it's not going to be making a top 10 list or anything like that. So yeah,
No,
in terms of the
certainly
shows
not.
we've talked about, it's below Night of the Seven Kingdoms and Wonder Man, but above Something Very Bad and His and Hers. So um,
Yep. Yep.
let us know what you think of Beef season two if you've seen it, um, and any of the actors involved. If there are any shows you want us to talk about, we will. I imagine our next video will be a sort of mid-year recap video, where we will talk about shows in a more quick fire way that we have missed. So look forward to that. Thanks again, Clay, for joining me,
Thank you.
and hopefully we will catch you soon for another one.